Welcome back, and thank you for joining. This section is going to focus more specifically on the 2027 shift. First, going through concept and definition, what we are witnessing is a significant paradigm shift that has been building for decades and will accumulate around 2027. We are still experiencing the impacts of this right now as we are shifting. We are moving from the cross of planning, the dominant frequency since 1615, into the cross of the sleeping phoenix. This isn't just a change in leadership or policy, it is a change in the background frequency of our existence. We're moving from collective to individual, moving away from reliance on tribal bargains and outer authority. The emphasis now is on individual survival and inner authority. What we are witnessing is the dismantling of structures we once assumed were permanent. This right now is a compost phase, a necessary breakdown to make room for the next mutation of humanity. This isn't about abandoning community, it's about changing the logic of belonging. We are moving from obligation, belonging because you have to resonance, belonging because the frequency and your capacity are a match. As the outer authority, the institutions and consensus scripts we've leaned upon start to feel shaky, our nervous system often reads this uncertainty as danger. This is where we bridge the gap to passenger consciousness. The external infrastructure and experts we used to follow, the outer authority, and we move into inner authority, our body's specific decision-making mechanisms. Passenger consciousness means your mind moves into the witness seat while your body takes the driver's seat. To stay regulated during this time that feels wobbly, it's about finding a personal rhythm. This means eating according to your determination, sleeping in a way that matches your design, and surrounding yourself only with people who keep you regulated enough to perceive reality accurately. To understand our current moment, we have to distinguish between transits and global cycles. Transits are the fast-moving weather conditions we feel day to day. Global cycles are the long 411-year arcs that define the climate of humanity. We're currently experiencing the most intense point of that climate change. We are moving away from outer stability strategies, the methods that used to produce predictable results and a sense of belonging through social role fitting, moving into inner navigation strategies, which require radical capacity building and individual consent. In the old era, you were valued for how well you fit into a role. In the new era, you are valued for your energy fit, how much raw, authentic presence you bring to the moment. We're shifting from an obsession with the small print of planning to the intuitive survival-based instinct of the now. We're leaving behind the tribal bargain of Gate 37, where love was a duty, and we are entering the frequency of Gate 55 and 59, where love is an emotional spirit and an intimate, resonant exchange of energy. The previous era had no room for true individualism in how humanity expressed love or security. But mutation and awakening are, by definition, individual processes. The collective has reached a point where it can no longer support us. We are being forced into individual orientation for our own expansion. It is a common misconception that transits only affect individuals. In reality, collective human consciousness experiences transits on a massive scale. They aren't just feelings, they are the conditional qualities of reality itself, designed to facilitate the evolution of our species. As we move from a world built on tribal commitments to one focused on individual survival in the now, the very air we breathe energetically is changing. We are being asked to release our grip on the strategies that sustain the old era. We are leaving behind our specialized skills, obsessive detail, the drive for constant increase, and the pressure to maintain existing systems just for a sense of belonging. The safe path of the last 400 years, loyalty to the family or the institution, is no longer a guarantee of safety. What we're coming into is radical presence. We are entering a frequency defined by personal power, intuition, and shock. This era prioritizes authentic intimacy over long-term commitments driven by societal norms. The transition represents the birth of collective new beginnings. Paradoxically, the collective can move forward only if we as individuals become sovereign. The program is no longer supporting the tribe. It is now supporting the individual in the now. We are moving from the security of the bargain to the vitality of the instinct. The 2027 shift can be seen as a massive rewiring of our human electrical grid. We are witnessing a total change in the dominance of circuitry. In the cross-of planning era, our world was held together by the glue of tribal and collective circuitry. In the sleeping phoenix era, the power moves almost exclusively into the individual circuitry. To understand the impact of this, we have to look at three distinct keynotes of how energy moves through humanity. The first being individual circuitry, the new dominant energy, where the keynote is empowerment. The circuitry is about individuation, mutation, and evolution. It is acoustically orientated. It hears unique inner truth. While it makes up about 34% of the gates, its mutative quality means it will drive the collective direction. Tribal circuitry, which is the fading safety net, the keynote being support. This is the energy of the bargain, needs, bonds, resources, and protection. It is tactile and touch-oriented. As the cross of planning ends, the frequency of mutual support is thinning. This is why tribal institutions, families, small communities are feeling the most strain. And collective circuitry. This keynote is all about sharing, and this is holding our historical record. This is the visual energy of humanity as a whole, focused on patterns, logic, and wisdom from the past to predict the future. While this compromises the largest percentage of the body graph, it is losing its authority to dictate how we live. We are moving from a world that values sharing and support to a world that values empowerment. This isn't selfishness in the traditional sense. It is a mechanical requirement. The collective is currently at a point where it can no longer evolve as a group. It requires individuals to empower themselves so that the species can mutate. To see the sheer scale of this mutation, we have to look at the specific gates that make up the global incarnation crosses. Every 411-year era is defined by two primary crosses, which make up 8 gates in total. When we look at the circuitry of these gates, the math tells the story of our evolution. Moving from the era of planning in Maya, 1615 to 2027, in the world we're leaving, it was heavily weighted toward the group with only 1 individual gate, 3 tribal gates, and 4 collective gates. We were built a world where fitting in and doing your duty were the highest virtues. In the era of the sleeping phoenix and penetration, 2027 to 2348, we have 5 individual gates, 2 tribal gates, and only 1 collective gate. We're moving into a 400-year cycle where being yourself is no longer a luxury. It is the mechanical requirement. This is why the strategies of the past, like relying on the union, the family, or consensus, are failing. The background frequency simply isn't powering those circuits anymore. So if you've ever wondered why tribal loyalty feels like it's evaporating, why collective logic is failing, this is why. In the era of planning, the program was literally subsidizing the group. Because 7 out of the 8 gates were tribal or collective, the weather was constantly pushing toward duty and shared logic, as we discussed. This is why we have massive hospitals, schools, and governments. The circuitry powered them. Moving into the era of the sleeping phoenix, all of this collective subsidized energy put towards the group is being pulled, and it's being pulled increasingly towards the individual. This is the energy of empowerment. So it only cares about its own mutation and the survival in the now. Individual circuitry is not able to hear the needs of the group. So while the circuitry defines the what, the 384 subdivisions define the when. Every 411-year cycle is divided into 6 phases of 68.5 years. On the individual path, we evolve through lines 1 to 6, moving forward, and the collective path, human consciousness moves in reverse order from 6 to 1. Right now, we're currently finishing the line 1 phase, the investigator and fear-based survival of the old world. In 2027, the gear clicks and we reset at the top with the line 6 phase of the role model of a new world. We are moving from the basement of investigation to the roof of objectivity. And here are these outlined again visually. Because the circuitry is shifting, the way we literally perceive the world is changing. Each circuit has a sensory language, and as individual circuit takes the lead, our collective sensory priority is moving from the eyes to the ears. So in collective visual, it was prioritized as visual. The planning era, we focused on patterns we could see, logical charts, and sharing what was observable. We needed to see it to believe it. And then moving into tactical, this is tribal, about the touch of the family, the physical bond, the tangible resources, food, money, skin-to-skin protection. What we're moving into is acoustic. The Sleeping Phoenix era is all about acoustics, meaning the individual circuitry hears the truth. It's about the frequency of a voice, the resonance of a word, and the inner ear of intuition. As we move into 2027, we stop looking for visual proof from the collective to feel safe. We stop waiting for the tactile bond of the old tribe to support us. Instead, we start listening to the frequency of our own voice and the acoustic hits of our own inner authority. Empowerment isn't something you see, it's something you hear in the stillness of your own spirit. To understand why our current systems are wobbling, we have to look at the keys that built them. Since 1615, these specific energies have been the dominant background frequency. They weren't just personal traits, they were the rules of the game for human civilization. For 4 centuries, our way of life was the family, Gate 37. Love was a bargain and duty was the currency. We connected to the divine through the temple of aloneness, gate 40. The will to work and provide for the group. This created the societal roles and hierarchical resource management that allowed cities and nations to flourish. Our nature was defined by focus, gate 9, and our daily pattern was the acquisition of skills, gate 16. We were a species obsessed with specialized training and planning for a future that we assumed would be a logical extension of the past. Supporting the structure were the 4 minor keys that kept the collective stable. This was inner truth, gate 61, and detail, gate 62, where we sought universal facts and managed them through immense bureaucracy, and gates 32, continuity, and 42, increase. We were driven by the fear of failure and the mandate for constant growth. A world of incredible infrastructure and institutional support, but one that required the sacrifice of the individual spirit to maintain the plan is the result. As we approach 2027, what we're seeing is simply withdrawing its support, the energy that is, from these specific circuits. The bargain is over. So, to summarize what we are witnessing, we're moving from a world that valued focus and skills to a world that values presence and power. We're in the era we're leaving. Love and security were managed through collective agreements. There was almost no room for true individualism in how we functioned. You were a cog in a very large, very stable machine. Your value was your role fit. And in the era of the sleeping phoenix, the focus flips. The collective can no longer support us, so the program is now prioritizing individual orientation. The old goal was building collective infrastructure through tribal bargains. The new goal is to express present awareness through personal power and exchange energy with resonant individuals to fuel the next human mutation. Awakening is not a team sport. It is an individual process. We are at a point in history where the most pro-social thing you can do is become radically yourself. By anchoring in your own frequency, you provide the role model, the line 6, that allows the rest of humanity to see what is possible in this new individualistic era. And moving now into passenger consciousness next, where we will pick up